Hello there, this is Teacher Wayne and I'm making a video series on using the UNITY6 engine, the brand new UNITY6 engine, to create a zombie shoot 'em up. I've done zombie shoot 'em ups now and various versions of Unity, right, from the 2018 version, the 2020, the 2022, and now I want to do it in the UNITY6. Now, in essence, they're similar, but the reality of each engine brings something new to the table, something different, something that's a bit confusing. And the purpose of these videos is to aim them at beginners or people that are moving between the different versions, because you can't really there are some differences, and I want to basically, hopefully I can point out those differences. So the first thing I'm going to do is, obviously, I'm using this UNITY6 engine. I'm going to create a brand new project here with the Universal 3D car. So it's the URP I'm going to be using here. I'm going to call it Test 2, something like that. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to click Create, and this does take a while for the first time it's running. So I'm just going to pause the video while this happens. Right, so we have our Unity engine up and running now. This is the UNITY6. I'm just going to go through some basic stuff just to cover the general basics of this engine. This is the scene view where we are going to be looking at the game here. There's a game view as well for the actual playing of it. So that is where most of the stuff happens. On the hierarchy view, this is where we start to put stuff in as we're building them, and we can start to add bits like our players, our zombies will all start to appear here. On the right hand side, the inspectors, there's going to be specifics that we're going to be looking within each of the game objects. Basically what you have is objects over here, and we manipulate over there. Now on this project window here, this is where we put our assets. Now because it's a blank one, we've got some basic assets here. We're going to be having to rearrange this. This is like a folder structure. We're going to create new folders, we're going to add stuff, but the first thing we're going to need is assets. Because Unity comes by default with no assets. It's quite a lightweight engine compared to an Unreal Engine. It doesn't come with a lot built in, so we have to add them. Now the beauty with the Unity infrastructure is, there's just an FYI, there's about 70% of all games made with Unity, so we are talking about the biggest game engine out there. There is something called the Asset Store. Let me just load it up for you just to show you. There we go, I'll move it over. So this is the Asset Store. I've got a lot of assets from here. You can look for, I don't know, water, for example. One of the ones I've used is a water one. And what you can do, can you see there, one thing you want to do is always look for the free ones like I just did. This one here is one of the assets I've used. One of the key bits is you need to log in with your Unity ID, the same for that, and then you'll be able to link them. But for now, what I've done is I've actually downloaded some assets from there, so I'm not going to pretend I've made these assets. Well, I have made some of them, but I've got quite a lot. So can you see I've got this here is my unit. I've got a zipped package manager here. So what I'm going to do is I'll be providing links to these in the sort of down below. You'll be able to see a link to them, so be able to download it. You can use both. It doesn't really matter. With this one you have to unzip and then drag and drop them in bits. So I'm going to use the packet manager one. I'm going to add it. Right, it does take a while for this to come up. It took about a minute, but can you see there's a load of assets here all appearing. So I'm going to import them all. Right, so now we imported them. So in here I've got an assets folder. I had that before. I opened it. This is what's being imported. So I've got a gun which I'm going to be using. I've got some, this is my water that I got from the Unity store that we're going to be using. This is called the Terrain Demo Scene URP. This is from Unity Asset Store itself, of some environmental stuff for the terrain. We're going to use that. There's a water part of this that I don't use, which is why I've got this one. I've got a zombie This is once again not made by me, I got it from the asset store. But one thing about this, I've modified it so the materials work with the new version of Unity. The version I found didn't work and the materials all come off pink, so using the import I've got, I've sort of modified it so they're pink. They're not pink, sorry. So anyway, we've got this. The first thing we're going to do in our scene is we're going to create a terrain. So what we really need to do, we've got this, we're not really going to use that global volume, I'll leave it there for now. Directional light and main camera will leave, but we're going to be sort of playing and modifying them as we go along. But these are the basics that we need. So on the hierarchy view, what we're going to do is, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a 3D object. You notice I right click here, go to 3D objects and then go to terrain. And then you get this appear here. Now this is our terrain. All the gameplay takes place in the terrain. I'm zooming out with a mouse wheel here. I'm rotating around by clicking on the right mouse button and using the scrolling out. You can also use the WASD by clicking the mouse button. You get used to it by playing about with it. So this is our terrain. Now sometimes you might click this here, which is the ISO and perspective mode. Just be careful about that. Keep yourself in perspective. Can you see that says perspective there? Also, don't be careful not to be going 2D mode by accident. You go like this. These are all beginners' mistakes that I see people do. They go, I can't do anything. Well, it's because you're in 2D mode or you've gone in ISO mode. So be careful of that. It's not that obvious until you spot it. So anyway, I'm just using the right mouse button, using the ASD buttons to zoom around. Right, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on here in our terrain. Make sure your terrain's highlighted. You go over here. It's far too big, the terrain, so we're going to reduce its width and we're going to reduce its length. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this to 500 and set this to 500, and as you can see, pressing enter after I do each one, because it's reduced massively in size. That makes it much more realistic. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set the height. So what we're going to do is physically move this up so that we can put lakes in and rivers. So first thing we do is we're going to go to paint this one here, the one that says paint terrain. We're going to set the height, and I'm going to change the height to 50 and then click flatten all, and it jumps it up there. I just double clicked on it again so that I move up as well when I'm maneuvering it. So that's the first thing. To recap, I've added a terrain. I have reduced its width and its height by 500. I've also clicked and I've increased its height by 50 so we can put valleys and rivers in there. Next thing we're going to do is paint texture. We're going to spend quite a bit of time on here. So we're going to click edit terrain textures. We're going to click create terrain. We could actually click add layer. So let's add a layer. First thing, this is our default layer. I'm going to pick grass B. And you'll notice it goes like a lovely grass mode. And then we're just going to add some more layers. Let's have some black sand. Just literally add them all. Doesn't take long. Grass moss. Grass A. Some I don't create, sorry, I want to add a selection of them. Oh, I don't think I've got that one. Have we got this one? No, we ain't got that one. Right, we've got quite a selection of different ones here. Obviously, you can add as many as you want or as little as you want. Now what you want to do, this is where your concept art is. Think about what you're going to create on this level. This is essentially the level that we're going to play on. Okay, let's talk about brushes that we're going to paint with. These here I'm looking at are my brushes. You can see I've got lots and lots of brushes. Here they go on and on and on. Now one of the important things you want to do is you want to set the brush size. So what I'm going to do is I want to paint some mountains in the middle. and then I'm going to put some trees on, and then I'm going to put a lake, and I'll start that process and show you what it looks like. I've actually already done this, so what I'm going to do is I'll start this and then go save this and then go to a one where I've actually got it set up a little bit better. I've spent my time a bit more on it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to raise and lower terrain. So what we're going to do is we're going to create some mountains. So we need to raise or lower terrain. And here it says left click to raise, hold shift and left click to lower. It tells you what to do if you read the caption. So I'm going to create some hills in the middle, mountains in the middle. I'm going to make a nice decent sized brush here. Opacity is how strong the brush is. You know how when you're clicking the left button, how much of an impact it has. So let's get some action going on in the middle. As I zoom, can you see it goes blue because it's rendering as I'm zooming in. I'm just going to have a bit of fun here. So I'm going to zoom around. And some nice, there we go, nice big mountain in the middle. Make it reasonably sized. Now I want to lake sort of this corner, so I don't really want much there. So this is what the centre of the map goes, mountain. Over here I'm just moving my, by the way I'm right clicking and I'm using the W button here together. Can you see it speeds up the more I hold it, it zooms in. That's the right click and the S button. So I'm going to dig some holes here and I'm going to go shift this time. Can you see what happens? It just creates. Make it a bit more. I want something in the middle of there, a bit of water in the middle, so when the water appears. So there's a basic thing now. Obviously it's all green, it's not very, it's a bit boring, so we need to do a bit of painting. So let's paint it. I'm just moving around here to have a better look. Alright, so go back to paint, pick a brush. I'm going to go with this white one I found. It looks a bit whitish, so I'm going to put a bit of snow effect on the top. So pick a brush, which is this one. I'm going to make this brush size quite small. There we go, click on it. So I've got some, there we go, it's like a snow cap on it. So that's the highest point. That's the only bit of snow I'm going to put, and then I'm going to put, the rest is going to have this black sand. Let's try this. I'm just going to go around there, around it, there we go. You see what's happening? I've got snow on the top and a bit of rock around the bottom of it. I'm just rotating around. Now it's knocked a bit of the white off, I don't want that white back. That's better. And there we go. So I've got a bit of snow here. I'm going to put some more gravel on. I'm going to put some more gravel on around here. Like this. That's good. Now we've obviously got some different sort of effects going on here. Got a different type of moss. What a brown actually, let's put the brown on. We'll go to place. Paint. Anyway, I think you've got the gist. So there you go, I've got a terrain set up. I've got like a mountain in the middle. I'll go to town on this. You can spend ages on this. In fact, it's good to spend quite a long time on this. I've got a slightly bit different version I've got saved elsewhere, which I'm going to come and show you later. Anyway, that is that. Now let's talk about trees, as you do. So you got this icon here that says paint trees. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some trees. So just to click it, you click on the tree icon there, you click edit trees. I'm going to add trees, I'm going to add lots of them. So give it a minute, it catches up, it's trying to find them all. And I'm not just going to add trees, I'm going to add grasses. So in fact I'm going to start with that grass because it's already there. Add a tree, a bit of dry bush there. I'll add quite lots of things. We'll find some trees eventually. Oh, there we are, we'll have a cypress. Let's add a tree. Let's have a pine. They are quite tall, we've got to be careful about the height of them. Edit trees. You don't want the trees taller than the mountains. Conifer. Edit, added trees. I think I saw some ferns, grasses. I'm adding just grasses as well. I'm adding all sorts of stuff here. Bushes, yeah, you've got the gist. Now, one thing I want to be careful of is I noticed that by default the height is quite high. So I'm going to turn off, oops, go back to my trees. Can you see there we've got the tree height and it says random. Right. We're going to reduce the height down to about a quarter of what it was. Keep it on random, that's fine. Brush size, I'm not going to actually paint them on. I'm going to use this mass tree thing because I find it quite useful. And you don't do 10,000, I do about 3,000, and I click place. There we go. And we've got lots of them. They're all over the place. Give it a minute to catch up. Yes. There we go. And they're coming into place. They're looking quite nice. Now remember when I said I want water, so I don't want trees everywhere. So you want to remove trees. So what do you want to do? You press. I'm going to have a large brush here, and I'm going to go shift and click, and what it does, it gets rid of the trees. So I want to get rid of all the trees over in that water area because I'm going to add some water to it. Also, let's have a look here. No, there's no trees up here. Sometimes you get a tree on the mountain, but I don't actually have one. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some water. So let's do that. Assets. I'm going to go to Ignite Coders. I'm going to go simple water. I'm going to go prefabs, and I'm going to go, I think it's water block, is it? Well, water block, that's it. There we go. This is water block. And then can you see we have this plane, and what we're going to do with this plane is we're going to get it to fit. And I'm going to use this here, this tool, the red rectangle tool. I'm just going to simply stretch it out. Stretch it out. And it adds water. Just make sure it covers all my little holes, and there we have the very basics. Oops. Very basics of our environment. We have, just to recap, we've got different textures. We've got a water feature. We've got trees. Got a basic map going here. Alright, thank you very much for listening. This is Teacher Wayne with his first video in his video series. Thank you.